This is Steve Beaumont, the owner of the Chateau Avalon, and I've been asked by many of our guests to tell you the story about how I built the Beaumont Fountain. So here it goes. In 2004, I set out to build an icon in Kansas City. My family was so proud of it, I named it Avalon Fountain. Grandma Beaumont did not like that at all. She said, "Don't you like the name Beaumont?" And she shamed me into calling it the Beaumont Fountain. One of my favorite quotes is, "The man who wants to do something will find a way. A man who doesn't will find an excuse." The primary influence and inspiration behind the Beaumont Fountain is the fountain at the Place de la Concorde in Paris. It's a place I've never seen, but I've watched it in movies, and it's beautiful. The interesting thing is, the Paris fountain was influenced by a lot of Italian fountains. Those in St. Peter's Basilica and the Trevi Fountain in Rome both were inspirations for that original Paris fountain. Paying homage to the country club Plaza and its Spanish influence, I decided to emulate the Spanish styles where they put bronze against stone. It looks really beautiful. The contractors that were going to build the Beaumont Fountain said they needed to go back to Las Vegas and pick up some parts and supplies. They never returned. From that point on, it was up to me and a couple of other men, Eli and Soren Jordan, to help me build this vision of a fountain. To make the Beaumont Fountain even more unique, we had some assets that the ancient Romans didn't have: welding. We could take a structure, weld a frame, and build a bowl of stone that could reach out far beyond the normal breaking point of stone. The project began in the warm summer of 2004. However, it was soon apparent we weren't going to get this thing done before winter set in. So we had to build a large dome structure, and we worked throughout the winter before we could open it up in the spring. The foremen on the job were really difficult to deal with. Here you see Colton, my oldest, and Ethan, my youngest, telling me pretty much how I need to do it. Once the frame was complete, then we got the next part started. That was putting in all the rebar and the mesh that would hold the concrete in place. The concrete itself had fiber additives to help give it strength and support.
All right, February 1st, these are the 45s that we've welded in to give it some stability. It's welded in at the column, then a second weld right here at the lower member, and then a third weld up above right there.
Layer after layer of concrete was meticulously added to the structure. Each one had to wait to be applied until the other one had dried. It was really difficult to get the concrete to stick when you're putting it underneath the structure. It just fell right off. So we could only put on a pound or so at a time. Here's an example of how the template worked. We'd build up the concrete until there was enough that we could drag it off using this tin and plywood form. It was attached to the fountain itself at the center, this round column you see now. The base was also quite a challenge. You had a lot of weight up above, wind and the elements were going to just add to that. So we had to put extra beam support around the perimeter. And then we actually built these ships out of solid concrete to reinforce those beams themselves. If you've ever tried to build a ship out of plywood, those don't make for very good forms, but we got it done. Once the structure was built, it was time to put the finishing touches on, the cosmetic facelift, if you will. This is where I had to put on acid stain on the concrete. If left on too long, it would go very dark, and you had to take it off pretty quick with water. Here I'm shown rinsing the top. Meanwhile, back in Salt Lake City, the fountain's statues were being made. When they got to Kansas City, they showed up without arms or legs, and I had to figure out how to assemble a statue that I'd never seen before. Poseidon is the centerpiece of the Beaumont Fountain, and actually it was rendered to look a little bit like my dad, Jim Beaumont. For the final finishing touches, I needed to decide what the actual statues would look like. So I used inspiration from the fountain statues down on the plaza. Here you'll see my artist putting 3 layers of paint on to create what is now the bronze statues at the Beaumont Fountain. After a year of hard work, it was finally dedication day, and my kids, Colton, Shelby, and Ethan, were there to flip the switch, and the Beaumont Fountain came to life. In 2005, no one really knew what LED lighting was or what it could do, but when I built the chateau, I put LED lights in all the tubs. My guests loved it, so I decided, what the heck, let's put LED lights on the Beaumont Fountain, and it's spectacular. Lots of people ask me, how does this Beaumont Fountain compare with the famed J.C. Nichols Fountain on the plaza? Well, here's a few stats that maybe you'll be interested in. The Nichols Fountain at its center point is 11 feet tall at the top of one statue. Our fountain is 29 feet. The diameter of the Nichols Fountain is 60 feet while ours is 48. They have 9 statues while we have 20. I don't know how many gallons of water per hour they put out, but we put out 67,000, and with our LED lights, the number of colors we can do is infinite. By spring of 2020, 15 years of harsh weather and splashing water had done a lot of damage to the fountain. It was time for a complete overhaul. First order of business was to break out all the cracked and damaged concrete and replace it with fresh layers. The statues need to be protected from blasting, falling debris, and harsh chemicals. A special new coating called ThoroSeal was applied to all the concrete. Without any acid stain, it was spectacular, so we left it that way. It looked really beautiful against the bronze colors of the statue. At the last minute, I drew an inspiration and I wanted gold accents added. With the white and then the dark colors on the statues, we needed something to really make it pop. I decided to take a chance. Here you see my daughter Shelby putting on the gold leafing, and here is Soren atop the fountain, Beaumont Fountain 2.0. The final item was to get the new LED lighting. We bought it from a local company called Duracom here in Kansas City. So in July of 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, another work of art was revealed in Kansas City.